So what we have here is we have some specimens that I've soaked in oxalic acid and whitened up the quartz. You can see that the gold has already been exposed just through a very quick water gun process. But now we want to make these a much more aesthetic piece of rock. And the way we do that is we use a rock trimmer. So I'm going to set this up so you can see what we do here. And so this rock trimmer is real simple. You just kind of figure out where you want to remove any of the rock, and it's really only just a small piece of gold there, so we're just going to cut the end of that sucker off. And now we have a much more appropriate size specimen for the amount of gold that's on it. Still some rock on it, nice sharp cut edge. Some of it you just peel off by hand if there's anything loose. But just like that, 30 seconds, we have a much better specimen. You always want to make sure, oh, look at that, there's a little bit of gold on the backside there. So same thing, we'll just trim that down. Make it a much better size rock so that the rock doesn't overwhelm the actual gold. Well, that's kind of cool. And then sometimes you see what happens here is we have a little bit of gold inside that rock. So we'll set that aside for now, do some further treatment on it. But now we have a smaller rock, a little easier to see the gold on it. The rock doesn't overwhelm the gold. Just trim it a bit more here. Yeah, so it looks a lot better. So now we have a couple of showings of gold on it. Makes that a much better specimen. This one here has quite a bit more gold on it, but still the rock is quite big. What I want to do is I want to try and line the cut up along this grain structure here and get rid of some of that bulky rock in the back. Yeah, just like that. Much more aesthetically pleasing piece. We'll just trim that little bit off the end. And that is just a much better piece now. Might just trim this a little bit here. Sharp edge on it. And then just like that, we have this killer specimen now. Nice little stand-up piece. The gold seems to dominate the piece. Way better looking. This one here has quite a bit of thick rock on it as well. And you can tell it was kind of bulky. Yeah, that's way better now. So we went from that large rock to this nice specimen here. In fact, I'm going to cut it one more spot here. Really have this gold dominate this piece. And just like that, a way, way better specimen. Better size. So I'll trim a little bit more off this one edge. This rock trimmer is just an amazing time saver. Look at that. Much more stunning. This piece here only has a little bit of gold on the one end. You can see the rock itself is quite large and bulky. But, you know, the added rock size doesn't really increase the value. Again, the whole thing here is to accentuate and highlight the gold, not the rock itself. So we'll trim it here, kind of a natural cleavage at first. And once you determine where the natural cleavage is, a lot of times it'll just cut right where you want it to. So you can see that that actually came apart real well right there. Take a little bit of the thickness off the back of it. There we go. We go from that large, bulky specimen to a beautiful little piece here that, you know, probably 75 bucks. Some of them are a little bit trickier. So this one here is pretty thick on the bottom. So we'll cut that off first. And then there's kind of a natural fracture point right there, and you can see by how easy it just kind of comes apart right there that is the spot that it would naturally want to cut to. And right where I cut that, a little tiny piece of gold came out. Let's see if we can get that to focus. Not really. Super tiny little piece of gold came out right there. So in this little vug, you can see right here. Can't see any gold, but I think I might water gun that sucker just to see what else is in it. But I'll do one more little trim right here. Yeah, you can see a bunch of rust in there. So I'm going to water gun this one and then determine what the best next step is with it. Can't really tell right now, so this one will take probably a little bit more work with the water gun and maybe clean it up a bit more with oxalic. And then finally we have this one. Quite a bit of gold on it, but the gold is kind of overshadowed by the thickness of the rock here and how far down the rock goes. So I'm going to cut it right here. It should fracture naturally, and then across the bottom there. I'll start with that. Just like that. Nicely fractured where I wanted it to. No gold showing anywhere there. I think I can trim a bit more of that off. And then we'll give her a bit of a rip right here. That is being held together by gold, it seems. Just the tiniest little bit right in there, little flake. But now all of a sudden, because of what that did, this piece feels a lot heavier than it did. You can see there's gold all through here. Gold across that top face. Then this side is really nice. So just by trimming it, able to see that there's a lot more gold in it than I thought. And so this one will probably go in for a little bit further water gun. Oh yeah, look at that. That's the back side of that. That looks really good. So, in fact, that gold looks crystallized, whereas it didn't before. So I will take this one back to the drawing board and look at it under the loop and then decide what to do with it next. But boy, that one has a lot of gold in it. All right, hope you enjoyed this very simple video of how to, I just did 6 specimens and the film has been running for 10 minutes. So basically 2 minutes a piece, not even, to trim rock.